You don't have to be scared. I can teach you how to talk with your hands." 4-year-old Indigo Wells watched the new boy sitting alone at the playground's edge, his eyes red from crying, his small shoulders hunched inward. She approached slowly, her hands moving in graceful signs her mother had taught her since birth, the only language she'd ever known in her silent world. The boy looked up, confused by her gestures, but drawn to the kindness in her expression. I don't understand," he whispered. Indigo smiled patiently and pointed to herself, then made the sign for her name, a flowing gesture like painting the sky. She pointed to him questioningly, her head tilted with gentle curiosity. "Sterling," he said softly. "My name is Sterling." She reached for his small hand and carefully shaped his fingers into letters, teaching him to spell his own name in the language she lived in. Other children played loudly nearby, but in their quiet corner, something profound was beginning. A friendship built not on words, but on patient understanding. Sterling's assigned bodyguard watched from a careful distance, posing as a playground monitor. The boy's father, Governor Hawthorne, had insisted on the protection after his wife's death 6 months ago, fearing kidnappers might target his only child. But the governor had also made Sterling promise to hide his identity at the new public school, desperate to give his grieving son one space where he could simply be a child, not a political pawn. Indigo's mother, Vesper, observed from a bench, her heart aching with familiar recognition. She'd watched her daughter face isolation since birth, other parents pulling their children away, uncomfortable with deafness they didn't understand. Now, finally, someone was staying. Over the following weeks, Indigo and Sterling became inseparable. During lunch, while other children chattered, she taught him signs for friend, happy, thank you. Sterling learned quickly, his small hands mimicking her patient demonstrations with increasing confidence. "Why don't you use your voice?" Sterling asked one day, and Indigo pulled out a small card her mother had made, a simple explanation that she was deaf, that she experienced the world differently but not less fully. Sterling studied the card seriously, then looked at her with understanding far beyond his 4 years. "My mama died. I can't talk to her anymore. But you can't hear anyone. Is that like losing everyone?" Indigo paused, then signed slowly, waiting for him to understand. "Not losing, just different language. You're learning mine. That makes you special." Something shifted in Sterling's expression, the first genuine smile since his mother's death. "I'm learning your language. That does make me special." 3 months into their friendship, Sterling's teacher, Miss Calloway, called a parent meeting. Vesper arrived nervously, used to complaints about accommodating her daughter, but what she found surprised her. Sterling's father, Governor Marcus Hawthorne, sitting quietly in casual clothes, his face showing exhaustion and grief. "Miss Wells," he said, standing to shake her hand, "I need to tell you something about my son." Vesper's protective instincts flared. If this is about Indigo teaching him sign language, "It's about gratitude," Governor Hawthorne interrupted gently. "Your daughter has given my son something I couldn't, hope. He's been drowning since we lost his mother, refusing to speak to therapists, barely eating, nightmares every night. But since meeting Indigo, he wakes up excited. He practices sign language before bed. He's living again." Miss Calloway added softly, "Sterling told me yesterday that Indigo taught him how to talk to people who can't hear him. He said, 'Now I can talk to Mama in heaven. She can see my hands even if she can't hear my voice.'" Vesper's eyes filled with tears. "He said that?" Governor Hawthorne nodded, his voice breaking. "Your daughter didn't just teach him signs. She taught him that love doesn't require sound, that connection can exist across silence, that being different doesn't mean being alone." Then he revealed the truth Vesper had suspected but never confirmed. his identity, the security detail, the reason for Sterling's carefully guarded anonymity. "I need to ask your permission for something," he continued. "I want to fund a sign language program at this school. Proper training for teachers, resources for deaf students, integration into the curriculum. But I won't do it without your blessing. This should honor what your daughter has built, not exploit it." Vesper was stunned. "Why would you do this?" "Because Indigo saw my son when he was invisible with grief, and she taught him a new way to communicate. Because kindness like that deserves to be amplified, not hidden." He paused. "And because I've watched my son become fluent in empathy through learning your daughter's language. That's more valuable than any lesson I could teach him." 6 months later, Sterling stood before his entire school at a special assembly, his small hands moving in confident signs as Indigo stood beside him, translating for those still learning. Governor Hawthorne watched from the audience, finally public about his son's enrollment, no longer hiding behind fear. "My name is Sterling Hawthorne," he signed and spoke simultaneously. "My friend Indigo taught me there are many ways to talk, many ways to be heard. She showed me that being different makes you brave, not broken." He turned to Indigo, his expression pure and earnest. "When my mama died, I thought I'd never be happy again. But you taught me that love doesn't need sound, that friendship doesn't need perfect words, that the kindest thing we can do is learn each other's language." Indigo signed back, her mother translating aloud. "You taught me something too, that being deaf doesn't make me alone, that someone will always try to understand if I'm patient enough to teach them." The two 4-year-olds held hands as the auditorium erupted in applause, not the scattered pitying clapping Indigo usually received, but genuine appreciation. Behind them, a banner unveiled the new program, the Indigo Initiative, sign language for every student. Governor Hawthorne approached after the assembly, kneeling before both children. "Thank you both for showing me what true leadership looks like. It's not about power or position. It's about seeing someone who's different and choosing to understand them, choosing to learn their language instead of demanding they speak yours." Sterling tugged his father's sleeve and signed, "Is Mama proud of me?" The governor's voice broke. "She's so proud, son, and so am I." That evening, as Vesper tucked Indigo into bed, her daughter signed a question. Why did Sterling's daddy seem sad when Sterling signed about his mama? Vesper considered her answer carefully. Because love doesn't end when someone dies. It just learns to speak in different languages. Sterling's learning to talk to his mama with his hands, sending her messages in the silence between heartbeats. That's both sad and beautiful. Indigo was quiet, then signed. "Like how I talk to the whole world even though they can't hear me?" "Exactly like that, sweetheart. You speak in beauty and patience, and the people who matter learn to listen with their eyes and hearts." True connection doesn't require sound. It requires patience, kindness, and the willingness to learn someone else's language. When we meet people who experience the world differently, we have a choice: to turn away in discomfort or to stay and learn their unique way of being. The most profound conversations often happen in silence. The deepest understanding comes when we stop demanding others speak our language and start learning theirs. And sometimes the smallest teachers, children who see with clearer eyes than adults, show us that differences aren't barriers, they're invitations to grow. Kindness is the most universal language. It needs no sound, no translation, no explanation. It simply reaches across every divide and says, "I see you, I value you, I'll learn your language because you matter." If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment.
Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.